Well, let's delve into tonight's story, shall we? We are beginning with numbers you're receiving from the Ghana Statistical Service. We are told the reforms in the financial sector and decline in the oil and gas sector have resulted in a significant decline in the country's annual economic growth rate. That's for 2018 as measured by GDP. This after an impressive growth recorded the previous year. Now, economic growth for the fourth quarter of 2018, however, increased to 6.8% as compared with the same period in 2017, which was pegged at 5.5%. Now, the current growth rate is led by the industrial sector, which recorded 8.9%, followed by services sector with 5.8%. A lot of figures there. Let's break it down for you in this report.
The growth rate for the fourth quarter is led by the industry subsector, which recorded a rate of 8.9% on the back of operations in the mining subsector. It was followed by the services sector with a rate of 5.8%. The agricultural sector had a declining growth rate of 4.4% for the quarter, despite a marginal pickup in the crop subsector. Let's hear from the government statistician, Professor Kobna Ainin.
Quarter 4 2018 GDP puts it at 39,473.2 million Ghana cedis, and for the same period, that is quarter 4 2017, the estimated value for our final goods and services is 36,950.8 million Ghana cedis. Again, the difference between 2018 quarter 4 and 2017 quarter 4 is about 3,000 million Ghana cedis. The year-on-year quarterly GDP growth rate for quarter 4 2018 was 6.8 compared to 5.5 recorded for quarter 4 2017. The quarter-on-quarter GDP growth rate, seasonally adjusted for quarter 2018, was 1.7%, and the rate recorded for the third quarter of 2018 was 1.8%.
He has also been explaining what these growth rates means for the country and its impact on the development of the people.
Certainly, once the per capita GDP goes up, what it simply means is that we've accounted for the population within the country. So if the annual GDP that we showed earlier on pointed to a figure of 300,000 million, approximately 300,000 million Ghana cedis, and it translates into 9,000, approximately 9,000 per capita GDP, and this showing an increase of about 1,000 between 2017 and 2018. Certainly this is good because on the average, but let's put on record that on the average, this is the annual amount. The distribution is another argument. This is why towards the end of my presentation, I said that statistically we can compute the average by simply dividing the GDP figure by the population. But that doesn't mean that it has an equal distributional effect, in which case the lowest in the economy, that is the poorest in the economy, are going to benefit compared to the richest.
Gross domestic growth without oil grew by 8.4% for the year 2018.
All right, so that was a recap of yesterday's press conference held by the Statistical Service, where the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobna Ainin, detailed those numbers for us. Joining us on the line to make sense of the figures is economist at Data Bank, Courage Mate. Thanks for your time tonight. Courage, let's start with the fourth quarter figures for 2018, where we understand that industry-led growth was pegged at 8.9%, and then service sector 5.8%, agric declined to 4.4%. So let's talk about industry and let's talk about agric. Significantly, industry improved, and we want to find out what happened in there in the last quarter in your estimation, and why you think we saw a decline in agric.
Well, thanks for having me, Darrell, and good evening to you. Well, with agric, it's a worrying sign, because when you look at the sub or the components of the agric sector, there seems to be a lot of focus on crops and a lot of government policies to drive crops. But then when you look at the other side, you see what's happening to fishing, and it's not been very impressive over the years. And I was just looking at the numbers, and I looked at what has happened in terms of year-on-year growth rate, and we've seen that there's been a lot of quarters where the fishing sector or subsector contracted, and that is a risk, and it is telling on the agric sector. So that if you record some impressive numbers in the crop subsector, the overall growth in the agri sector is being undermined by the contractions we are recording in the fishing subsector. So there's a need for policy to drive or resuscitate activities within the fishing subsector.
And it's remarkable that you note that government, we have seen, is spearheading a number of projects in the agri sector. Now, just make sense of this for me. So industry is doing well and then agri is going down. But in the same vein, we're trying to industrialize and we are pushing it with agri. What does this say?
Well, it shouldn't mean a totally bad story. Like we were trying to explain, what component of the agri sector is doing well and what component is not doing well, for which reason the entire agri sector is not doing well, and what is the link between the agri sector and the industrial sector. If the link is to the crop subsector mostly, then what is happening to the crop subsector? It is doing well, so it shouldn't undermine significantly the industrialization agenda. Unless, of course, the entire component of the agri sector is not doing well, then there is a threat to the industrialization agenda.
Let's talk about the overall figures, because we are told that nominal GDP growth dipped to 6.3%. That's compared to the 8.1% we saw in 2017. And so that represents a 1.8 percentage point decline. And we are made to understand that issues we saw in the financial sector and the decline in the oil and gas sector may have contributed to the decline that we saw. Your comments?
Well, yes, and it is not a surprise because if you go, for instance, let's take the oil and gas. You recall that in 2017, the production of oil and gas was beyond expectation, and it is one of the main reasons why we grew in excess of 8% in 2017. Now, there were supposed to be a number of shutdowns in 2017 to continue the maintenance or repair works on the FPSO on the Jubilee oil field, but they had to find a temporary solution, which meant that production exceeded expectation in 2017. But in 2019, that deferred maintenance work or repair work had to be done, and that affected production in that year, and so it hurt oil and gas production. In the financial sector, we all know what happened, why banks didn't lend, and why businesses didn't get access to credit, and other financial sector activities contracted. And so overall, the story is known, and it's not a surprise that the financial sector and the oil and gas sector were the key drag on growth in particularly the overall economy when it comes to why we did less than the 2017 levels.
Here's the thing. So it's no surprise when you talk about the challenges in the financial sector because you all saw it. But these figures, we are told that the oil and gas sector tumbled to 3.6%. And that's from an 80.3% recorded the previous year. And so that's a decline of minus 76.7%. That's really significant, isn't it?
Appears so, but again, let's also trace back to 2016. Now, the 80% growth we saw in 2017 is as a result of a lower base from 2016. So that because there was a lot of contraction, that was when we experienced the problems with the FPSO in 2016. And so there were virtually a standstill in that sector. And so in 2017, we're starting on a very low base, and so the percentage change will be very massive. Now, when you get into 2017 or when you get into 2018, those normalization will happen necessarily. And so the 80% we saw in 2017 is mainly because we had a very low base in 2016 upon which we were growing in 2017. So the 80% shouldn't be the normal case to consider because it should adjust back to the normal levels. Albeit the 2018 levels were, again, as a result of shutdowns for continuous repair. So I think production should normalize when all these upside and downside risks offset each other.
Just a quick one so we can wrap up. So how is it looking like overall, taking into consideration the positive projections by the World Bank and the IMF, looking at the current figures that we have?
Well, no matter where you look at it, the angles from which you look at it, it appears almost certain that growth is going to remain very strong and robust in 2019. The level, the particular figure is what might appear debatable. But then again, if you take a consensus view of the projections that is coming out, it appears we'll be going a little bit above 7% from all the indications we are picking up and the projections we are picking up. I think the key drivers now would be coming from government expansion on infrastructure and so on. But for me, what is most notable is that towards the end of last year, even as the overall 2018 numbers is showing, if you take oil out of the equation, non-oil growth is coming strongly in leaps and bounds. And I think if we experience that same growth in 2019 and get into 2020, we should start to see people begin to enjoy the benefits of the growth in the economy.
All right. Thanks very much for your perspective tonight. That was Courage Mate, an economist with DataBank, sharing his views on the latest GDP figures released by the Ghana Statistical Service. Let's move on to other news. Tonight, the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Reverend Daniel Ugbamitete, has stated that the securities industry is reeling under its current state because of a number of challenges. He says his outfit has identified these challenges and is finding solutions to them. Speaking on the Super Morning Show on Joy FM, Reverend Ugbamitete outlined 7 key areas the Commission is exploring to find lasting solutions to the sector's problems.
The counterparty defaults. The second is the fixed term and guaranteed returns, and we have given the directive. Okay. And then the third is related party transactions. Again, that's where, we have the situation of emergence of financial conglomerates and so on and so forth. And sometimes the related party transactions don't go well. We have also given a directive to put restrictions on what kind of related party transactions should be done and the extent to which it should go. Then the fourth is corporate governance failure. And, we have also, as the SEC, introduced a corporate governance code for listed companies. We've also introduced a conduct of business guidelines for our capital market operators. And these guidelines have some provisions on corporate governance because we need our operators to strengthen the practice of corporate governance. Okay. And then there's also the issue of a lot of licensed operators coming in. So we have SEC is implementing new licensing requirements. For instance, we are looking at the minimum capital requirement being raised. We are looking at enforcing the fit and proper test. Before you can actually play in the industry, you have to pass the fit and proper test. We are looking at, for instance, interviewing, especially key of officers. So it's not just a question of showing, your certificates, but we want to make it more rigorous in terms of who comes in, raising ICT requirements. And then we're also embarking on a digitization program for the Commission to make us more nimble in terms of surveilling the market.
You're watching Business Live. Let's bring you some more news here. Mechanization has long been touted as a way forward in unearthing the potential of agriculture. It is also considered as a tool for massive economic transformation for Ghana and the African continent at large. But what practical steps have been taken by government and the private sector in realizing this objective? Well, JoyNews' Ernest Menu traveled to Bomad Farms at Adesu in the eastern region and reports 2 drone technology companies, Aquamaya and Zangate Technology and Research, are already making a difference in agriculture.
Government considers agriculture as a key sector and has recently unveiled flagship programs with the aim of increasing productivity and also creating jobs. For instance, fertilizer has been subsidized for farmers and some assisted with farm inputs. But there's more to explore as far as mechanizing agriculture is concerned. At Adesu in the eastern region, I meet this 28-year-old drone pilot.
I'm Kluche. I'm a drone pilot. I've been flying the drone for like 2 years now.
Valentine graduated with a bachelor's degree in graphic designing. He had no background in agriculture.
I once worked with UNICEF. They introduced me to Aquamaya, and Aquamaya is a drone company for agro. So when I joined, it was about agriculture, but I did Bachelor of Arts when I was in university. I completed university in 2016, and I had no idea about agriculture.
But today, he travels all around the country, providing services to farmers.
And just this morning, I'm even from Tamale. And I came here this morning. I'll be going back to Tumu to go and continue my job there.
Thanks to Aqua Mayor, it has really saved me a lot.
Today, I meet him at Bomat Farms at Adaiso. He demonstrates how the drone works.
It's automatically going to go back there. So it's going to continue.
1.8 meter.
So you didn't miss any crop.
0.8 meter.
And when you miss any crop, you know, look at this edge. I didn't get to this edge because the farm is not straight. It's going to show it to me on the screen. You see this part, it didn't reach. It will show it to me on the screen that like that part isn't done. So when I finish, I'm supposed to do all the edge.
3.0 meter.
You can increase the speed, you can change the speed, increase the flow of the liquid. It all depends on the nozzles. So I think I'll stop there. And I can ride it manually. So this one, the water is finished, I can bring it back.
Managing Director of Aquamea and CEO of Qualicel tells JoyNews, even though they have been operating for only 7 months, business has been good.
The prospect is really great because in our 7 months operational in Ghana here, we've received a lot of traction from different stakeholders, including even the youth, because they want to be involved in technology innovation, get their hands busy with something that they can relate to. And with the drones, we employ them in our assembly units to assemble the drones, and we also train the pilots to be drone pilots. They get their certification and they go out there to also spray the farms off and impact the life of the smallholder farmers.
Zion Gate is another drone technology company that is providing service to farmers for 50 cedis per hectare. Their drone is able to profile your cell and provide solutions. Bernard Asel tells us more.
We fly the drone there, then within the next 3 hours, we produce the analysis for them. Then we try to interpret the result because the farmers don't understand these analysis. So we try to do the interpretation for them. Then we give them the necessary guidance. Then they go to the field and do all the necessary stuff that they have to do. We've been able to map so many farms in Central region and Ashanti region, for instance. We've been able to map maize farms, we've been able to map cocoa farms and stuff.
Farm manager for Bomat Farms, Daniel Ahiro, said the technology has cut down their cost of production.
Technology last year, and we think the result was good. And so we have plans of scaling it up. But we believe it is one of the best ways to try and improve on farming in Ghana.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive of Cosmos Energy, George Sapon, says his outfit is ready to partner more with government to maximize results in the Planting for Food and Jobs program.
We have soil solution. When the farmer is actually plowing, they can tell that this soil that I have is good for this product. So we are actually in partner. We are collaborating with the government. This is a success. It's a success that is for all Ghanaians.
So as Ghana prepares to host this year's African Green Revolution Forum, perhaps the mass production of such drones and leveraging on digital transformation to drive sustainable food systems must be considered by government and key stakeholders.
Still within the agric space, some rice farmers and producers are blaming seed entrepreneurs for increasing contamination of planting materials in the country. They say lack of expertise of middlemen normally lead to acquisition and supply of disease seeds. Now, stakeholders have been discussing these and other issues affecting local rice production in Kumasi. Chrissy Deborah has more in this report.
Unlike previously, when companies are contracted to do the supply of the seeds, they are sent to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture offices at the district levels, where they are required to do the sale of the seeds by themselves. So what happens to the seed later, nobody cares. But now, the seed companies have been asked to do the sales of the seeds directly to the farmers through retailers. So if you are a seed company and you are sending in seed onto the market, you are selling the seeds directly to the farmer.
Though agronomist Maxwell Mensah of RMG Ghana believes government intervention of subsidizing seeds will enhance production, Joseph Nate of Ghana Irrigation Development Authority thinks it's much ado about nothing if entrepreneurs with low knowledge command the seed market.
The major challenge we found about the seed acquisition is the qualities that we have on the markets and the source where it is coming from. We have a lot of mixed seeds. Apart from mixed seeds, we have diseased ones. So sometimes when a farmer gets access to that seed and is not able to identify the off types before even nesting the seed, it becomes a challenge. So what we are saying is that the researchers should be able to ensure that what they are giving to us is the true type. For instance, we have Jasmine 85 on the market now. You go to Sari, what we are buying from Sari as Jasmine 85 is totally different from what we are getting to CRI as Jasmine 85 because of different ecology.
The view is shared by Odiasepa Entry, Chief Executive of Rice Producing Company, Sparse Ghana. He is calling for proper regulation, especially of seed producers, to ensure entrepreneurs get standard materials for distribution.
The contamination of this seed is coming from the seed entrepreneur because he is a businessman. All that he wants to do is that he wants to purchase seed from somewhere and then send it to the farmer without looking at the source and how it has been produced. So all that we are saying is that if this will work very well, then the regulators regulate the seed producers so that they produce quality, high-yielding seed.
The workshop is aimed at strengthening Ghana's domestic rice industry. Stakeholders are expected to come out with a communique after the session to inform policy decision. Dr. Maxwell Asante is project coordinator.
We all know that we eat a lot of rice in the country, but we still import 60% of our needs.
Well, that'll be it for our program tonight. You have been watching Business Live. My name is Darrell Kwa. We've got more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. We'll be back same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching.